I have quite a few memoirs that I've been meaning to read, so I am going to read as many as I possibly can in this week. From Monday, which is today, until next Sunday. So it's day one. I have 8 memoirs, and that is including the one that I am starting with today, which is Malala's Finding My Way. I didn't have too much time to read, but through a combination of listening to the audiobook on my drive to work and then my drive back from work, as well as reading bits and pieces when I did have time, which wasn't much since it was a very busy day at work, and also listening to the audiobook while I ate my lunch for my 30-minute break, and then after work, listening to the audiobook while playing a couple games on my phone so I could decompress a little bit before supper. And now it's after supper, and I'm ready to sink into this book and really dive deep and just enjoy it instead of getting interrupted every couple of sentences that I get through. I am around 30% through on the audiobook. I don't know what that looks like here because I'll need to catch myself up on the physical book. I do want to show off how absolutely gorgeous this book is because it is so pretty. Such a light purple. And there's pictures on the inside that was a delightful surprise when I opened the book up for the first time. With just Malala being herself with her friends and family. I actually haven't pulled the rest of the books off the shelf yet, so I'm gonna go do that now to see what my other options are once I'm done with this one. I just bought this one because, of course, 7 memoirs wasn't enough. I needed an 8th one. But it's Matthew Perry's memoir. Of course I gotta read it. Well, I already spotted one. Oh, and I just finished Fat Chance Charlie Vega, Chef's Kiss. Oh, The Glass Castle is another. And right next to that one is Becoming by Michelle Obama. French ingredient. That says memoir. Not one of the 8 I was talking about. Guess I have 9 to read. Oh, this one says memoir too. I have 10 I could read. Now, where are the ones I was actually thinking of? That's one. Bit scared for that one as well. Memoirs are just scary reads to go into in general. My Time to Stand by Gypsy-Rose Blanchard. Also, scary one to get into. Memoirs can traumatize you. That's what's scary about them. They're very real. Boop, 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 boop. That is all for that shelf. I am Malala. Hey. An older memoir. I have actually read the children's version of this. I Am Malala, but I haven't read the adult version, so that's why I picked this one up a very long time ago from a thrift store, and I'm finally going to read it, yay, after I read her latest memoir. Is this a memoir? It actually might be. Not certain though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. All the memoirs I could read. I finished up Finding My Way by Malala. It was so good. I enjoyed it so much. I ended up pretty much listening to the entire thing other than a little bit of reading while I was at work, but I found I really enjoyed listening to it because she narrated it herself, so it felt a lot more personal being able to listen to her say her own story, which is why I think a lot of memoirs are great to read as audiobooks. While I was finishing up listening to this one, I was reorganizing all of my books, which made me very sweaty. It's also really hot today for the first time, so that didn't help. They aren't really organized now either because I couldn't really figure out how to organize them, but I did kind of haphazardly, and they're all on a shelf right now, which feels like a win. There aren't any on the floor anymore. That's progress. But however, through going through all those books, I found not one, not two, but 3 memoirs I had forgotten I had. I got sent a copy of Under the Naga Tail, which is a true story of survival, bravery, and escape from the Cambodian genocide. This is oddly a very heavy book. You know how sometimes books are just like super heavy or super light and it just surprises you? Yeah, this is a surprisingly heavy book. This is a memoir I could read in this video. That makes it 11, and now this would make it 12 memoirs. The Wild Track, which is a beautiful memoir which tells an adoption story less traditional than some. That's what Observer says. And then there is a memoir about a kid with OCD. So that's 13 memoirs. Although, no, it's not 13 memoirs on my TBR. Because I just finished Finding My Way, which means I have 12. Which I originally thought I had 7 because I found 5 extra in this video. And before I started the video, I remembered that I just bought the one by Matthew Perry. So I originally thought I had 7 memoirs on my physical TBR, but I actually had 13. And I've gotten it down to 12, so progress. Because I listened to most of it, there's not really any lines that I can go back to and point out how good they were, but I will say the writing was wonderful. It was a very relatable story. If you think you can't relate to Malala, you should read this story because it was very relatable in a lot of ways. It's just her story going through college after everything that happened and, you know, finding love and friends and her struggles through all of that. Her struggles with trying to be successful academically, socially, making friends, dealing with relationships, while also dealing with public scrutiny and everybody demanding her attention and demanding her to speak and change the world 24/7, which that part isn't as relatable to everyone, but it was really interesting to learn more about.
I want the true life of an activist to be out there. I do not agree with these idealized versions of what an activist should look like. I am an activist at heart, and for me that means my commitment to making a world where every girl can have her right to education. But at the same time, I also want to have a life where I can have friends, love, where I can, look after myself. I cannot tell you, how difficult it was for me to cope with the mental health many years later.
It's a lot to put on the shoulders of anyone. I really enjoyed it. So I could read the other Malala memoir that I have on my TBR. I have been kind of trying to think of what I want to read next as I finished Finding My Way Up. And I think I've decided on Gypsy-Rose Blanchard's story, her memoir, which I really don't know what to expect at all from that book. So I'm going into it very much with a blank slate. No expectations, really. I mean, I know a bit about her story. I've seen some interviews that Gypsy-Rose Blanchard has done herself.
Did she tell you when you went out that you were to stay in the wheelchair?
Yes, sir, she would.
But you knew you could walk.
Yes, sir.
But also I watched the Hulu TV show.
This is the state's case against Gypsy-Rose Blanchard.
She's got paraplegia, epilepsy, heart murmur, and she's allergic to sugar. Everything I do for her.
My mom is my best friend. All she wants to do is keep me safe.
Gypsy!
Which I have no idea how accurate that is, so we'll see, I guess. But I don't really know if this is going to be a retelling of her side of the story of what happened when she was in her mother's households and the abuse that took place there, or if it'll be more about her time in prison or after prison or just in adulthood in general, or if it's about all of it. I have no idea what to expect, so I'm going in blind and we're gonna see how it goes. But I'm excited. That is now put on my finished stack. This fell while I was organizing. And this is the one I've decided to read. So I'll put that aside. And I need to add these. This is really hard to do with one hand. Beautiful. I probably won't start right away. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and maybe start later tonight. I don't know. It's already 8:30, so we'll see. I realized to my dismay that maybe not everybody has heard of Malala and Gypsy-Rose Blanchard, so I thought maybe I should give a little context if you're gonna listen to me ramble about their memoirs. Malala is famous because she's from Pakistan, and the Taliban took over where she was living. She was told she was not allowed to go to school anymore because all girls were being banned from school, and so she started writing. All of this isn't in this memoir, it's in another memoir of hers that details that part of her life when she was younger. This is more after the aftermath of everything and her growing into becoming a woman and going to college. So after she was not allowed to go to school anymore, she started writing about how girls need the right to have an education because it opens so many opportunities for them. Obviously that angered the Taliban, but yeah, she published that, and I believe that was anonymous at first until she put her name on it. And after the Taliban, I think, was no longer in control of where she lived, so she was on a bus to go to school one morning when this man, a part of the Taliban, came onto their bus and said, "Which of you is Malala?" And he shot her in her head. She was shot in the head by the Taliban. Obviously, she survived and tells her story. She still to this day fights for women's rights and goes around the world doing inspirational speeches, inspiring young girls to fight for their right for education. So that's her story. Gypsy-Rose Blanchard, she's actually probably she's lesser known than Malala, so I think you're less likely to know who she is than Malala. Her story became sensationalized because her mom suffered from Munchausen by proxy. Her mother made her believe she was sick her entire life. She forced her to always be in a wheelchair, never let her walk, didn't let her eat normally, basically starved her by forcing her to only have Pedialyte through a tube into her stomach, and shaved her head, made it so that all her teeth fell out because of all the medications and everything that she forced her to go through.
When she wasn't around, did you get up and walk secretly?
I did, yes, sir.
Did she ever catch you walking?
She did a couple times.
And what did she say or do?
She got so upset with me, she would punish me so bad. Like, she started hitting me with a coat hanger and telling me all kinds of mean things. She would tell me that she wished she had an abortion when she had the chance, that I ruined her life, that I have no idea how hard it is to keep up everything she built.
She was treated like she was very ill, had cancer and all of these other illnesses, and had no freedom. She was even told by her mother that she was younger than she was. So when she was 18, she was like, I believe she was told she was 13. And this was with everybody else as well. She told doctors this, and basically all of this was so that she could be more easily controlled by her mother and be forced to have her mother as a caregiver. And this book, if you want to know more about what I'm talking about, does talk about what happened during that event. It does go a little bit into what happened afterward, but it is a majority talking about what really happened in her perspective, which is good to be able to finally see her perspective, because we've had so many movies and the TV show that probably brought the most attention to her story was Hulu's The Act, and she does talk about how she felt about those a bit. She doesn't really say whether she likes them or not. She kind of just says that The Act brought a lot of attention that wasn't necessarily good attention, and so when she got out of jail, reporters would follow her around. I kind of skipped a big part there, but yeah, she went to jail because she had her boyfriend at the time, who her mother did not know she had a boyfriend because she wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. This was an online boyfriend. She had him Kill her mother. So I believe he went to prison for life and she went to prison for, I think it was supposed to be 10 years. I literally just read this. She went to prison for what was supposed to be like 10 years, but she had the option for parole, so I think she only was there for 9.5 years, maybe? I don't remember. But she is out now, and that's why she's came out with a memoir telling her side of the story, since so many people have talked about her online. She was an online sensation. Everyone either on one side or the other saying she was the villain or saying her mother was the villain and she should be out of jail. And this book, honestly, I thought did a great job of showing that she was neither the villain or the whole victim. I mean, she was definitely a victim in this, but she made choices that weren't great.
You have so many supporters and fans, but you also have a lot of people who want to give you a label.
Exactly. I try not to put myself in a label box, but it's like watching an origin story. So even on a villain, when you watch a villain's origin story, they weren't born a villain, were they? They got there somehow by something traumatic happening. And so some part of them changed at that point in their life. And so I wasn't born evil. I wasn't born a murderer. My circumstances took me there, and that was my path.
Are you a victim or a murderer?
I'm both victim and perpetrator.
Obviously, it shows her perspective, so we're not going to be able to see Dee Dee. That's her mother, Dee Dee's perspective ever, because she's gone, but we do finally get to see her perspective, and she actually does show the story in a way where you can see there's complexity to it. If you have seen The Act on Hulu, I will say this is actually quite similar. They did do quite well with the plot line. A lot of what happens in this book does happen in The Act. I mean, some things are dramatized in The Act and didn't actually happen, but I would actually say what happened in her real life is actually much more traumatizing and much more happened than what was portrayed in The Act. This does demonstrate the gravity of the abuse. And of course, it's coming from her instead of, someone whose main goal is to entertain, So, of course, I would say this is a better place to get information about what happened. Okay, I should really wrap up, but lastly, I just want to say, if you are going into this memoir wanting to know more information about after prison and her life there, I wouldn't do that because she really only goes into it very shallowly. She's very ambiguous when it comes to what happened with her husband when she left jail and who she's with now. She's very ambiguous with that. She doesn't really explain what happened. She just kind of hints at it. So if you're wanting to know what happened with that whole drama, this isn't gonna let you know. And also, I really don't think we need to know. That's my personal opinion. I don't think we need to know because it is her life. In all honesty, we don't need to know the personal details of someone just because we know other things that have happened in their life. She does talk about how she does want to use her fame in a good way, so she's not trying to completely go out of the public's eye because she does want to raise awareness for Munchausen syndrome, which I think of all the bad things that happened throughout her life, that is one good thing that came out of her story, is that a lot of people have heard about her story and know what Munchausen by proxy is now, which hopefully will make it a lot easier for other people in that situation to get out, because I mean, so many people failed her. So many. All of the doctors who just believed her mother at her word for it and did all these operations, surgeries, gave her meds, all of these things, despite the fact that nothing was actually wrong. Every system that is put in place to protect children failed her. And so it is good that she is now raising awareness for people going through this situation. So people don't just take people's word for it. Doctors shouldn't have just believed she was sick. The schools shouldn't have just believed she was being homeschooled. Social workers shouldn't have just believed, oh, just because you're not covered in bruises right now doesn't mean she's not getting abused. Anyway, I'll stop going on and on. It is Saturday, actually, so I only have the rest of today and tomorrow to wrap up this challenge, and I am really wanting to finish the book I'm reading right now and hopefully get to another one. Right now, I have started the next memoir, which is Michelle Obama's Becoming, I believe it's called. Let me get it. I am now reading Michelle Obama's Becoming. I read the Malala book on Monday and finished it on Tuesday, and then I read on Wednesday the Gypsy-Rose Blanchard book and finished that up in the same day. And then on Thursday I actually had a really busy, really hectic day at work, so I did start Becoming, but then after work I kind of just give myself a break, so I really only got 13% into the audiobook, which this is, it doesn't look like it, but this is much bigger of a book than these two. This one was a 9-hour audiobook, this one is a 7-hour audiobook, and this one is a 19-hour audiobook, so it will take me longer. But yesterday, Friday, I was able to get much further, and throughout today so far, because I'm about halfway through the day, I think it's around 1 p.m. I don't know, I don't have a clock in here. But I have been listening to it while I do some Saturday things like chores and, you know, tidying things up. So I have gotten a little bit into it, a good chunk into it. I think I'm 36% of the way through with the audiobook. It's this big of a chunk if you want to look at it this way. I'm on to chapter 12, and there is 24 chapters, I believe. I have to look. There's the epilogue. Come on. The chapters are pretty long, I will say that. So there's not too many chapters. Yeah, I think there's okay. Yeah, there's 24 chapters in the book. And then the epilogue. So I am hoping with the rest of today I can hopefully finish this chunk. And then tomorrow I want to start another one. I don't know which memoir I want to read. I want to read all the memoirs I have on my TBR, obviously. So I don't know which one I want to squeeze into this video, because I know the rest I'm probably not going to get to for a while. I'm kind of debating between the Matthew Perry memoir and the Anne Frank memoir, but I also kind of want to read the Glass Castle. I want to read them all. I don't know what I'm saying. Those are the ones I'm kind of debating about. The shortest one is the Matthew Perry one. They're not much of a difference, but the Matthew Perry one is 7 hours, and I think the other two I said are 9 hours, so I might do that one just because I can squeeze it in better. I don't know which one I want to read next, but you know, I have the rest of this book to read before I have to make that decision. So I'm just going to focus on getting through this book. Oh, I do want to say I was just almost giggling during the scene that just happened, because it was Barack Obama proposing to Michelle Obama, and it was so cute. And I did not expect that. I did not expect to be giggling and feeling all cutesy because of their proposal story. I've been feeling quite a few emotions while reading this so far, because just before this, she was describing this disease that slowly progressed through her father and ended up taking him. And that made me really emotional, because it reminded me a lot of the disease that my grandpa had, and he died relatively young as well. In the same way, he lost function of being able to walk and being able to talk without a lot of effort. It just made me emotional to think back on that. Anyway, maybe I should start reading now. I finally finished Becoming by Michelle Obama. It took pretty much all of yesterday and all of today just listening to it every chance I got to finish it, which means I'm actually not gonna be getting to another book. But I am happy with the fact that I got to Malala's memoir, Gypsy-Rose Blanchard's memoir, and Michelle Obama's memoir, which are all ones I'd been wanting to read for a while. So I'm glad I knocked all of those books off my TBR and got to learn so much more about all three of their lives and what they have to say after all of everything they've gone through. It's nice to be able to hear what words of wisdom they have. So even though it took me a while to listen to the full book, because the audiobook for Becoming is 19 hours. So if you are going to pick up this book, I will say it might take you a bit, but it is very much worth it. I wouldn't say any of it should have been trimmed down. She does talk about her life from being a young girl all the way through until when she wrote this book, which was after they left the White House. It was nice to see her side of things. I grew up during the time Obama was the president, so it's nice to see what they were doing to try to make America better, because I knew from being in school during that time that a lot of people were annoyed with the whole efforts to make the school lunch healthier. My dad told me this. I mean, this made it even clearer that it wasn't her fault. She was trying to make school lunch better, and with what she did say in here, she did make progress with that, because the childhood obesity did go down. But the reason why some people were frustrated with that was because instead of making the food healthier, some schools, just to get into the amount of calories that were required, they made the meals smaller, which is not great for growing children. But that's not at all what she was meaning to happen. She just wanted healthier options like produce, you know, vegetables, fruit, all that. As I was finishing up the book, she did make a point to directly address the fact that she will never run for president herself, which I did not know she made that statement in the end of this book. So I had hoped in this last election that once Biden had dropped out, I had hoped she would run, but I hadn't realized that she said straight up that she wasn't ever going to run. And I figured she didn't run not because she didn't think she could win, but because she didn't want to. So that makes sense. I do miss having a president that holds a level of respect for people and is calm, level-headed, and willing to listen to people. I miss that. So hopefully someday we'll have a president like that again. Speaking of that, the end of this book was a little not so fun. I mean, it was going to be like that no matter what, because it was talking about how Donald Trump won the election, which is never going to be a fun topic for me, and obviously not for Michelle Obama, who is also a woman and is a Black woman at that. But I do recommend reading. To wrap up the whole video, I very much do recommend reading all of those books. I loved them all so much. One thing I really love about Memoirs is that while it is nonfiction, it always reminds me of the type of storytelling you get in fiction. If you're looking to get into some memoirs, I would definitely try these three. Oh, and if you are interested in any of these books, I put a link to them in the description. That's all I got for you guys. If you liked the video, like the video. If you want to see more, subscribe. I'll see you next video. Bye.